Hello, everyone. Welcome to Girl Meets Rugby. My name is Christina Lanham, and this is episode 014. We're going to be talking about the MLR Conference Finals today. Lots to discuss, lots of exciting things. Clearly, I don't know how to predict the outcomes of anything, so it's going to be a fun time. We're also going to be looking a little bit at some news, some new laws that they're trialing, various things in the world of rugby. So let's go ahead and get things started, and let's go ahead and jump into the news. And let me find my news. All right. The British and Irish Lions have started their 2025 tour. They kicked it off over in, I believe, Dublin, playing against Argentina. And this was what was considered a shocking loss to Argentina. So they played 24-28 was the final outcome. So clearly a very close match. But yeah, they started off on a loss, but they're now headed to Australia for the first time in 12 years. They'll be playing over in Australia, and you can watch all of this on Rugby Pass TV for free for the remainder of June. Now, obviously, we don't have that many days left in June, but hey, take what you can get, right? So they've got, I believe, British and Irish Lion games on there, as well as other rugby matches and such. So if you head over to Rugby Pass TV, you can watch for free for the month of June. Then the USA U23 Women's Championship was held this past weekend in Quincy. They had 8 teams that faced off there. Again, really working to build that women's side up. As we look forward into upcoming World Cups, that'll be hosted here in the U.S. in 2033. So excited to see that. It was held on the same day, I believe, as the MLR final. So that was probably some exciting time to get some more faces on our U23 women. And then we have some new trialing of the disciplinary process. So World Rugby is trialing a new disciplinary process, and I copied and pasted a whole bunch of stuff so I can make sure I say it correctly. So basically, for any player that receives a red card or is cited, the following is going to happen. And they are trialing this with the British and Irish Lions tour, and actually have already implemented it because they had a couple of red cards right off the bat. So stage 1. An independent 3-person foul play review committee will meet remotely within 24 hours of the final whistle of the match or match day to assess any relevant incidents and propose a sanction to the player. These incidents the committee will consider will be publicly confirmed by World Rugby ahead of the meeting. Stage 2. A player can choose to accept or not accept the proposed sanction within a short time frame. Stage 3, where the player does not accept the sanction, the matter will be referred to an independent disciplinary committee, which will issue a final sanction. The independent disciplinary committee hearing outcome will be published by World Rugby. The Foul Play Review Committee may decide to refer matters to the disciplinary committee without having reached a decision. For example, if the incident is serious, in cases of match official abuse, etc., in those circumstances only, the player may appeal the decision of the disciplinary committee to an appeal committee. So kind of breaking that down a little bit, it sounds like, one, they want to have a quicker turnaround on red cards. I know on the MLR side of things, sometimes you're waiting, many days to kind of find out, like, what's the result of this. So it sounds like they want to get a quick turnaround, particularly where, maybe somebody was issued a red card unfairly even. But so they're getting this independent committee together to basically within 24 hours, they are meeting and making a decision. I thought it interesting that, for stage 2, the player can choose to accept or not in a short time frame, but not a specific time frame. So I'm curious what a short time frame is considered. Like they have an hour, they have a day, they have a week. So it'd be curious to see how that plays out, given the vagueness that they're providing there. And then, obviously there's an appeal. If they don't accept the sanction, then it's getting referred up to this independent disciplinary committee. Say hello to one of my cats. Um, both of my cats. Um, so they're going to have a scrum probably in a minute. Uh, so they're going to basically have an appeals process for them to issue the final sanction. I love that everything is getting published by World Rugby, so it will be known, it'll be clear, what is being decided. It does seem interesting, that they don't necessarily in that foul play review committee have to make a decision. That if they feel the issue is serious enough that they're just going to automatically bump it up into the independent disciplinary committee. I find that interesting. I'm wondering, is there like a limitation of what the foul play review committee can issue in terms of a disciplinary decision that other things need to go above? I don't know. So again, it'll be interesting to see how this plays out. Like I said, there was two red cards issued on the British Argentine game this past weekend. So they got to implement it twice. One, I know they published, what was going to happen with the player, and then the other one, I believe, did not accept sanctions, and it was getting routed up to the independent disciplinary committee. So again, this will be interesting to see how it plays out. I'm all for quicker review, not leaving people in limbo, particularly when you do have you're in a series match and such, and coaches need to make a decision: is this player going to be eligible? Is this player not going to be eligible? Just being able to have all the facts and know where to go, I think is going to be really helpful. And as a fan, I like to know the outcome of what's going to happen with a red card on one of my players or an opponent's player, and like, am I going to be seeing them again anytime soon? So yeah, I'm excited to see how that's going to roll out, how it's going to work, what bumps in the road they're going to hit. But that is what I've got for news at the moment. So we'll see what else trickles out throughout the season here over the summer with, international test matches, Women's World Cup. I'm sure we're going to have a lot more news happening. But until then, let's go ahead and jump over to a very quick WER presentation. And when I say quick, I do mean quick. I don't have a heck of a lot of news. Nothing's really transpired in the last week. Obviously, we discussed who will be going into the Legacy Cup on the 29th, and that will be the Denver Onyx versus the New York Exiles. It'll be held at TCO Stadium in Minnesota, which is the home of the TC Gemini. But really, all I have is Sunday, June 29th, 2 p.m. Central. The Legacy Cup is going to stream on the WER website. So that's where they've been streaming matches since they've had the loss of their media provider back in May. There hasn't been any real news that I've seen outside of that in terms of, where things are looking for 2026 for them. But the Legacy Cup will be airing on the WER website, so that will be for free. But it is June 29th, 2 p.m. Central. Be sure to tune in. Let's see who wins the inaugural cup. And with that, like I said, short, we're going to jump over to the MLR where we had our conference finals. All right, we kick things off in the East. It was the Chicago Hounds versus the New England Free Jacks. The Free Jacks had the advantage of playing at home. They had an amazing turnout of a crowd to support them. And this was a game where, for the first 53 minutes, it was all Chicago, all Chicago. It was like the Free Jacks were started off, kind of bit in a bully mentality, taking some, hits and such on the Hounds that earned them quite a few penalties. And I think, let's see here, we started, first score was made by the Hounds at 11 minutes and 37 seconds by Sweel. And then we didn't see another real score again until um, 43 minutes and 10 seconds, where Noah Brown scored. But we went into the half uh, 0-10. So 0 for the Free Jacks, 10 for the Hounds. Hounds did miss both their conversion kicks, which will be crucial later. But yeah, so it was, or sorry, I'm misspeaking there. They did not miss their kicks. So apologies. We'll retract that statement. They had their try and they had a penalty kick, which they got both of, which got them the 10 points. I'm going to have to revise my notes and double check before I say things next time. But both of these teams, when they entered in, they were basically at the same score. They had 11 wins, 5 losses, no draws. So they were pretty evenly matched. But then, again, it was really Chicago's game for the longest time. Though I will say Balakena on the Free Jacks had an amazing try-saving tackle, knocking the ball, I believe, out of Andrew Coe's hand at the try line. That was definitely a really amazing play on their part. But at the 53rd minute, Melvin goes in and finally scores Free Jacks' first try. About 5 minutes later, Calametti gets in, scores another try. And then we had another penalty kick that was, let's see here. So then we had another penalty kick where the Hounds got up to 20. So from their try earlier at the 43-minute mark, they were at 17. Then they had another penalty kick trying to extend their lead out a bit, got to 20. Melvin came in, scored another try at the 70-minute mark. It was taken back. But then Kyle Sakara comes in at 78 minutes and 7 seconds and scores another try for the Free Jacks. And this puts the score at 21-20 in the Free Jacks' favor. It looks like there's no way Chicago can come back. They're fighting for it. They get a penalty, and they're able to make a penalty kick at the death. And just as Hilsenbeck is about to kick, the feed freezes. You couldn't have scripted it better. So there was a feed loss. And so none of us saw the kick live, except for those that were there. They did manage to get some video of it later up for people, but not a great moment. I don't know if someone kicked a cord. I don't know what happened. It's not as bad as the Heidi Bowl. I will say that. It wasn't like they flipped it to another state, another thing, because they figured the game was over. This was definitely a true technical error, and I'm sure the MLR is looking at it very carefully to improve upon. But it was just one of those, like, what happened? Who won? We don't know. And so they were finally able to come back after a few minutes and apologize for the technical error, and ultimately heartbreak for Chicago. The ball goes off the posts, does not score, and the Free Jacks win the Eastern Conference for the 3rd time in a row. Feel terrible for the Hounds. I mean, it was really their match for over half of it. They were in the lead. And then the Free Jacks just kept coming back, kept pounding, and Chicago just wasn't able to stop the onslaught at the try line. And then Hilsenbeck, who was doing excellent for the majority of that match. I think I wrote down that he had 2 missed penalties in the time, one being that very final kick. So which is, a killer as we obviously, but in general, he performed really well and he's done really, really good for the Hounds. So I feel for him because that's just the worst way to end out a season is on a missed kick. But it is again another year of heartbreak for Chicago. I know they're just going to go right back to the grind and continue to improve and continue to strive to win that Eastern Conference and to compete for the Shield. On the other hand, the Free Jacks are officially in for a three-peat. They are looking to bring home that Shield to Quincy one more time. They've got a short commute down to Rhode Island for this match. So they'll definitely be the hometown favorites in terms of that. I'm sure quite a bit of their fans are going to make it down to Rhode Island for the game. So yeah, it's exciting for them. Like I said, heartbreak for the Hounds, hoping you know they will take this and move forward with it. In general, it was a fairly clean match. No cards issued, though I would say probably Free Jacks were flirting with it a couple of times. But ultimately, Free Jacks came out on top on the East. And if you remember correctly, I predicted the Hounds would win, so I'm 0 for 2 right now. So let's go ahead and go to the West, where it was the Utah Warriors and the Houston SaberCats in Harriman, Utah. So a home crowd for them, and they were the top seed for both conferences. Utah was. They were having an amazing season, and probably their biggest nemesis has been Houston, where Houston had beat them soundly both at home and away in their meetups this season. And what was surprising is it happened again. Um, I was expecting a much more heavily contended match than it was, where Chicago and the Free Jacks, like obviously it was very uncontested for quite some time, but then the last 30 minutes was like everything. When it came to Utah and the SaberCats, 3 minutes and 42 seconds, Momsen scores for the SaberCats. At almost the 18-minute mark, Lance Williams on the Warrior side scores. So it ends up being 7-5. Utah misses their kick, which significant win in Utah. Even though Joel Hodgson is very used to it, it's still when the way the wind gusts there, they were kicking into the wind. There was definitely a lot stacked against him in that. At the 30-minute and 36-second mark, Alatimu scores. And then we've got at 35 minutes and 36 seconds, Talatasi Tasi manages to intercept a pass and goes in and scores again for Houston. So we walk into the half at 21-5. So very heavily in favor of the SaberCats. But having just lived through the Eastern Conference, it's like, well, you can't say it's done until you get to the 80-minute mark. So we come back from the half. The 54-and-a-quarter-minute mark, Drake Davis scores. Then at 65 minutes, almost 66 minutes, Seth Smith scores. And we're now up to 33 points on the Houston side to Utah's 5. I will say there was a point at the 45-minute mark where Lance Williams scored a try, but it was called back. Then we have at the 75-and-a-half-minute mark, Paul Lasike scores a try. Paul Lasike, first ever member of the Utah Warriors. His last professional MLR game. He is retiring. Way to just give something to the fans and something to himself and to his team. Coming in, getting a score, and then at the 80-minute and 55-second mark, I'm going to completely mess up this name, so I apologize. Vugakoto scores for the Warriors, which results in a final of Warriors 19, SaberCats 33. I will say Houston, right at the death, got a yellow card on Marno Redlingheis, which if there's somebody that's going to flirt with getting a card, Marno is the guy. Like, he is going to try and walk that line and skirt across that line as much as possible as he can. And he did for most of that match. There was definitely a questionable high tackle on Drake Davis, or by Drake Davis on Joe Mano. And ultimately, it was TMO said it was fair. The ref, Robin Kaluzniak, had definitely sent up to TMO because he felt it was high. But TMO came back and said it was not. So be mad at TMO if you're a Utah fan on that end. But yeah, it's going to be, it wasn't the highly contested match I assumed. And also, 0 for 2. I said the Warriors were going to win, that Houston wasn't going to be able to pull it out. And Houston didn't play great. Still struggles in the line out. But we had some really good defense. There was some really good heads up play, which allowed them for 2 of their tries, the ones by Davis and Tossie. So it's, they had really great moments in there. But I'd have to say the Free Jacks did not have their best game either. I mean, they didn't score for 53 minutes. So I wouldn't call that a stellar performance. They certainly came back to win, but you can't always rely that you're going to be able to come back and win it. Sometimes the deficit is too high and you just can't. So it's going to be interesting for this conference final. That's what I'm going to say. Looking at their history, New England, since obviously they're different conferences, New England and Houston have met 3 times in the past 5 years. Now, New England has won every single one of those meets. So the first one was in, I believe, 2021. It was Houston 0, Free Jacks 32. But that was at a time when it was a very different Houston team. Then we had in 2024, I believe, it was 24-47. So still a commanding lead, a 23-point difference there. And then this year it was in New England, and it was 35-47. So a 12-point differential. So they have lost by less, Houston has, to the Free Jacks. So it was 32-23-12. So there's an improvement there. But I will say this is definitely going to be an uphill battle, and apparently everything I predict doesn't come true. So I'm going to go Free Jacks for the three-peat in hopes that it works in Houston's favor. But it's going to be a massive uphill climb for Houston. But they've just got their first conference title, which is huge. I was excited for them that they just won a post-conference match. I was like, if they did that, that was enough for the year. And then they've gone on, they've won the conference final. So they are the top in the West. So that's another milestone for them. And they're making their first ever trip to compete for the Shield. So regardless of the outcome, it's a banner year for the Houston SaberCats. Obviously, much more pressure on the New England Free Jacks. They want that three-peat. They want to bring the Shield home for a 3rd year in a row. They're really going to have to dial in their game, though. I don't think they can sit and not score for 53 minutes in the conference final and expect to come out ahead. So I think bodies will be littering the ground in this upcoming match. I think they're going to go for broke on both sides and play like there's no tomorrow, because at least in terms of the MLR, this is the last game of the season. Now, a reminder, this is going to be on Saturday, the 28th. It'll be at 1 p.m. Central on ESPN Plus. So be sure to tune in, root for the team you want most. and we'll see how it turns out. But it was an exciting conference final weekend. I'll give it that. I mean, there was heartache, there was scandal. It had all the things that you want. So we'll have to see if the the championship game does the same for us. They have announced match officials, so Luke Rogan will be the head ref for the match, who I have to say is probably my favorite ref in the MLR. I love the way that he handles matches. I love the way that he talks with players. So I'm excited for that. I was hopeful that he would be the championship referee. Um, I don't know if other people have favorite refs, but um, I'm a big fan of refs in general within rugby. That's one of the things that really drew me to the sport. So, yeah, that's what I know. That's what's going on in the MLR. And we're just going to have to give it till Saturday to see what's going to happen. Will the same old Free Jacks lift the shield? Or will the comeback kids from the Houston SaberCats take their first championship match title? We'll see. All right. Well, this has been Girl Meets Rugby. I'm Christina Lanham, and I hope you guys have a great day.